Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session
with your host, MichaelRearden.
One of the things I often think about is how we treat each other. Sometimes they don't treat people with the kindness that they deserve. Because if you ask yourself, what is the golden rule? And typically you're taught the golden rule at a very young age. Treat others as you would like to be treated. But yet many people are kind of going away from that golden rule in the sense of, I'm going to treat you according to how you should be treated. Not so much about how I care, how I need to be treated. Because to me, you might be an inferior type of person. And here in America, we have these stigma and these cultural biases that are happening. Maybe blacks versus Asians, or what's happening with Asians in general because of the hate of what America thinks that China did with releasing the pandemic. And it's easy for people to say, you know what, you are a person that I don't like. And I see it all around. And it's not just one-sided, because I know people who might come from Asia or something like that, they have a bias towards certain people. It's a prejudice almost, right? If you see a black person walking down the street, you're like, oh, let me lock my doors because I don't know if they're going to come in and rob me or something like that. And you might think, well, where are all these stigmas and biases coming from? Well, it's coming from the media. It's coming from everything the world is saying for what we should be believing. I know we're having an immigration crisis. So the people who are coming across the borders illegally, these people are no good, right? Like they're criminals and stuff like that. And that is what we're going to conceptualize of what and who these people are. They're criminals, they're dirty, they're no good, right? We need to get rid of them. But the reality is, we didn't even do the work to figure out if they are good people. In a sense, it is easier to hate than to love. It is easier to be angry than to be happy and boisterous, because it is easier to not accept than to adapt. This is the world we live in, but it doesn't mean it's the world we have to stay in. Today, I wrote this article. I'm talking specifically about anger because anger is the idea of what we are trying to conceptualize about other people or about what's happening in the world. Because if I'm not satisfied, if I'm not happy, then I must be unsatisfied. And if you're unsatisfied, it's going to cause some level of emotion. And that emotion can turn into anger. And that anger can turn into action. And typically, from there, now we're on a slippery slope of what is going to be appropriate in our next steps. So this article, The Price of Anger, is kindness really that hard? When I wrote this article, I understood something about what anger is. Anger is a powerful emotion, and it's something that you can use if you know how to use it. I know when maybe I'm angry. I haven't been angry in a while, but if and when I was angry, like when I was in college, I was angry all the time. I was like, why am I angry so often? But I knew how to get over my anger in college. I would go to the gym. I would do things, right? Back then, I was so worried about what people would say about me, what people would do to me. And it was like, I'm so angry at you, right? Now, if you have friends, for example, and let's say your friend betrays you, maybe they do something to betray your trust, right? I'm not going to give examples, but let's say they just did something to upset you. The people that you give the most, I guess, say in your relationship is going to be an important way to, or the best way to say it. Meaning you give this person like, hey, I have high hopes for you. I'm trusting you with, my feelings and to respect me so I can respect you. And, again, the golden rule. But if they kind of go opposite to that golden rule and they don't think about you as a person, you would think that that friend or that loved one that you have should hold you to a higher regard. Not necessarily, right? Because maybe they need to say, hey, the sugar and spice method, like tough love. Like, You need to learn this. You need to understand this. And maybe you don't want to know that from your best friend. And this is why, like, when it comes to coaching and when people are trying to help you evolve, it's better to get a coach. It's better to get, someone that's going to be in your corner, that's going to see everything good about you, but then see the bad and not be afraid to tell you about the bad. I'm not afraid to tell people about the bad when I'm working with them. So clients who are coming into RevenConcepts, they are learning that be more than happy to be your friend, but I'm not going to do the same things your friends are doing. And I'm not going to overlook the things that need to be changed. And when I say need, the things that you want to change. Because typically what happens in the first session is I ask, hey, what do you want? What would you like to change in your life? And you tell me. And then I develop a plan, and then we accept the plan together. And then from there, we are on a journey for that change to happen. But if you don't accept it, then you are going to disregard it, right? Because you might say, "Oh no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this." It's like you're admitting you're wrong, or you're admitting defeat. And it's not about me being right and you being wrong. It's about us working together toward that goal. But yet, in anger, it's almost like someone did wrong by you. And typically, it happens when someone does not good to you. Like I said, it could be from a friend, but then oftentimes it's going to be from strangers. Someone says something to you that crosses your line. If you remember the blog and the article, the line in the sand, they cross that line and it causes you to be angry. This helps me to recall a story of a monk. And he was a teacher. I talked about it a couple times in the podcast before, but it's been a while since I've shared this story. And the monk was talking about a new student that had come into working with, the other monks in the ministry. I'm not sure if it's considered a ministry or a monk house. I'm not sure. I forget the name. I know the name, but I forgot it. But either way, the house of monks, they're all students, and everyone knows right from wrong, right? Here's the thing. Everyone knows right from wrong, right? But this student didn't, right? This student would steal the stuff from other students and steal things from the temple, monasteries, I think. A monk monastery or mortuary. I don't know, something like that. Either way, the the teacher is like, he's learning, right? But all the students could not help but be angry. These same people who are supposed to be mindful, these same people who are supposed to be understanding, these same people who are supposed to be in sole control of their thoughts, their feelings, and their actions cannot control themselves when they see this young man taking advantage of their kindness. So the students finally had enough, and they created a petition to get rid of the student. And the students went as far to say, sensei, teacher, monk, whoever, if you do not kick this student out, we are all going to leave in mass. Now, this is a power move, right, from all the students saying, if you don't change what's happening, we're going to leave you, right? And most people are like, oh my God, don't leave me. Please don't leave me. But the monk said, if that is your wish, you can leave. Now, all the students are like, wait, what? You want us to leave? Well, the monk went on to say, it is amazing how all of you know what is right from wrong. You know what is just, and you have the right to be angry. But this young man here, he does not know what is right from wrong. And who would teach him right from wrong if it's not me? So if you have to leave, then that is what you will do. But I'm going to teach this man right from wrong. And the students finally realized how far off they were because they were so angry. They were living in their anger. They were living in their righteousness. They knew right from wrong. They wanted to be kind to the world because they were kind. But when someone didn't know how to be kind and they only knew how to do things that were hurtful, they wanted to say, hey, let's get rid of this person. Let's just throw this person away so they can figure it out for themselves like we have figured it out for themselves. But the thing about life is not everyone's going to have your living situation. Maybe you grew up in a family of love and care with food in your refrigerators and food in your pantry. But then there's going to be those people who grew up in hostility and negativity and famine. You would think, like, how can someone live in that situation? And they just do, they adapt. I remember the story of Mike Tyson with his son. The son was like, "Hey, dad, I want to be a boxer like you." And the dad kind of laughs off, Mike just laughs off and goes, "Son, you're too soft," right? And the reason he said that the son was too soft is because he didn't grow up in the hardship like Mike did, in the hood and the gangs and the violence. He didn't see that, and that has a huge effect on the mindset. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be a strong fighter because you didn't grow up in these neighborhoods. It is going to be easier to break you because when things are not perfect, you're more readily willing to give up because you understand if something is good right now, you're doing something good and things are good. The moment things get hard and challenging, and maybe you start to not have the same results, it's a natural inkling for you to say, let me do what I was doing previously. So you are more likely to revert back to who you were to get to that same average level of being because you do not want to go through the hardship of change. Because it's almost like growth is like a hill, and it's like a hill that goes down and then it goes up quite a bit. Many people don't like growth to be that. People want growth to be a straight line up. So anger is also something that we have to look at when it comes to, are we using this anger to elevate or to break down? And I have so many wonderful talking points on the shift from anger to kindness. And this is a mindset shift. And it's not a TOS or anything, but this definitely talks about a lot of good aspects of having a strong mindset and being able to properly do and make these changes. If you do not have a strong mindset, this could be more difficult, especially if you're living in your own agenda of people should just be happy, people should just be kind. It is not always that. You have to understand that it's not always about what you want. It's about understanding that everyone's going to have their own situation. So if someone is angry, someone is sad, it's not so much of it is about, something that you have to fix. It is something that they have to navigate through. And anger oftentimes is like a coal that you're holding on to and you're trying to throw it at somebody to hurt them. But the reality is anger hurts you more than it will ever hurt someone else. That's just the way anger works. So you need to be able to learn how to dissipate anger. And I'm not saying that everyone needs your kindness, but I am saying that you shouldn't even give anger to someone who is deserving of it. Now, not saying that you shouldn't protect yourself because protection is different than anger. All right. If you have to protect yourself, it's not because you're angry, it is because you're skilled. Okay. Meaning that you can handle a situation. Anger is almost like you went off of the wire, you went off the spectrum of who you are, and you lost control. Find control, right? Because you can be kind and still do dastardly deeds in a sense, right? They say kill him with kindness, right? Not kill him with anger. So here, the mindset shift from anger to kindness in the blog, we have to understand the roots. We have to choose a different response. We have to break the cycle. And then we figure out the long-term benefits to not be angry. That's just the mindset of anger. Now we have practical strategies for choosing kindness over anger. This is just simple stuff. Pause before reacting. Emphasize. We use the I statement, meaning we feel like I feel hurt that you said that, instead of you always make me angry. So, this is just an example. Let go of the need to be right. Many people, they feel the need to be right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Yeah, I have no problem admitting I'm wrong. 5, practice gratitude. And then 6, engage in acts of kindness. Now, all of these are just practical strategies for choosing kindness over anger. This is something that I'm going to just leave in the article for anyone who wants to read it. They can implement this in different areas of their life, because the article is simply just talking about, if you are angry, right? What is that price, right? What is it causing you? And is it really that hard to be kinder? Now, I understand the world is going to tell you who to love and who to hate. But at the end of the day, that is going to be something that is your responsibility. If you want to hate the world in whole, you want to hate your parents, you want to hate your siblings, you want to hate your friends, we can go down that road. But the idea of hate is not beneficial to anyone. Oftentimes, the country is divided every election. There's 50% of people who want to vote this way and 50% of people who want to vote this way. And of course, there's going to be a bit of change in the percent, right? It's not going to be exactly 50%. It might be 56%. It might be 51%, like it can go all the way up to about 59%, right? So there's always going to be the 10% clause or the 10% rule where there's going to be some change in that, right? So 50%, think of 10 and then go from there. So either way, you have essentially people split in how they view and how they think. So you might say, well, why in the world am I going to have to think a certain way if, half the other countries think in the other way? Why should I have to understand them if they're not willing to understand me? And what happens typically is you have two people who don't understand people. So the most obvious choice of emotions is to hate them or to be angry with them. I don't understand why these people are like this. And I don't understand why people can't see my way. I can't see. I don't know. And when you are putting yourself into that situation of me, you're going to have a lot of hardships in life, even in relationships, right? The same thing. I don't feel happy. I'm not in love with you anymore, and things like that. When it's like, are we still in love with each other? Are we good in the relationship? Right? And anger often feeds off, one another. So someone might say, oh, I'm real angry. And then a person's like, well, I'm going to be angry too because my friend is angry. So it's like, anger is one of those fires that spreads rapidly. If you were kind, right? If you were just kind and you're like, well, I understand that, everyone has their own views and that's perfectly fine. And people think that kindness can be faked. If you know how to read genuine kindness, it cannot be faked. One of the things I don't like, and I know why they do it, but certain YouTubers, they'll give people money and stuff and they'll record people. Sometimes it is because they want to be kind, but then sometimes it's because they want views. Kindness cannot be faked. Now, I'm not going to be angry at these individual YouTubers because they're trying to make a living, right? They're trying to, maybe do good for the world, right? Character, who you are. And some people are just angry, right? I'm sure you probably heard about Karens and Kens before. Karens are just these people who are just angry, like, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be doing this. I don't like you recording me. And the reality is, people have rights and you have rights too. So if someone is on the street corner filming cars going by, guess what? They have that right. Like, you might not like it, but they have that right just as you have that right, because you can go in that same corner and do the same thing that they're doing. Just because they are doing it and you're not doing it doesn't mean that you need to be angry at them for doing it. And this is not just people taking videos or people living their life or how people are, with their stature and demeanor and how they talk. Like, everyone has the ability. This is what makes America great, is that everyone has a choice to practice their own religion, to practice their own type of love. And that is the freedom of what America is. Yet many people are like, well, if you don't practice my religion, like, I had to be angry with you. Like, I can't treat you the same way. If you're not the same skin color as me, I have to not like you or have to treat you a certain way. I have to be prejudiced against you. I have to be racist against you. Oh, you're a different gender. I have to treat you a certain way. And I mean, we can keep going down this way of living and thinking, but is it going to bring a prosperous life, a prosperous country? If we just said, you know what, if I wanted to treat my neighbor kind, and I know they would treat me kind. And it's so funny because I know there's some neighbors in the neighborhood who are definitely prejudiced against certain people, right? But when I'm treating them kind and when I'm doing things that are going to be like, well, maybe this person is different, it's almost like they start to peel that shell of that hard exterior, and they're like, this person is different. That's what I strive to be. I strive to be that beacon that people can understand. And I'm not saying that I'm everyone's cup of tea. I'm definitely not. But for the majority of people, they're going to see, once they truly get to know me and understand my character, that I'm all right. I'm decent. I'm not saying I'm all right for everyone. When you get to know me and when you get to know your neighbor and other people around you, you get to understand there's going to be good in people, even if they're covered in tattoos per se, even if they're over here fighting other people. And you might think like, why are you like this? Why are you in a biker gang? And it's so funny because I know some people in biker gangs and stuff like that. If you talk to them, some of the kindest, sweetest people, you wouldn't think that, because it's easier to hate them. It's easier to be angry with them than to say, hey, let me understand you. In this article, The Price of Anger, Is Kindness Really That Hard? Is talking all about the idea of the path to kindness and the path of understanding and how it can have a great impact, a positive impact on mindset. And I encourage everyone to check out this article because there's going to be the strategies at the end for how you can change the mindset. There's going to be tools that you can implement to help you on that process. It is simple as, getting something from IKEA, reading the directions, all the pieces are there. You have everything you need right now to be successful. You have everything you have right now to release and diminish some of the anger you have and animosity you have within you. Because when you can release that, you're going to feel so much lighter in the sense of the burden of hate, because hate weighs so much more than love. If you're trying to lose some weight right now, the easiest way to do it is to begin to love, to begin to be more kind. And it doesn't even have to be with other people. Maybe just beginning with yourself might be enough. So reach out to us, RevenConcepts.com, if you need some help with this. If you know anyone struggling with their anger issues, we help so many people in so many aspects of their life. And anger is just a part of that. Being in control of your emotions or your thoughts or your feelings can create room for tremendous growth and prosperity in your life today.